Welcome to the ʻŌlelo Community Media Podcast, bringing you in-depth conversations with Hawaii's leaders and community voices.
Welcome, Hana and Carlo, to ʻŌlelo Community Media. We're excited to talk about your upcoming Networking 101 panel discussion for freelancers and creatives. So let's just start by learning more a bit about your background. So Carlo, can you tell us about what brought you to this field, UX, UI designing, and technology?
Totally. Yeah, so when I graduated college, I didn't really have much plan. I just wanted to come back home. I went to school in Providence, Rhode Island, and I wanted to just come back home and have a plan. And I rented cars for a while. I really didn't like doing that. And then I got hooked up with the Department of Education. And someone just kind of took a chance on me and brought me into the tech field. I started out very technical, like doing data analysis. I taught myself to code. I wanted to be like a data viz engineer. That was my dream. And so when I went to the Bay Area to kind of become a data viz engineer, I found out that I like designing more than I like building. And so for the past 10 years, I've just kind of became a product designer within the tech field for large companies, small companies, all around.
That's great. That's awesome. Wow. Hana, can you tell us a bit about your background and how you got to be into the UX UI design field?
Yeah, so I graduated college with a degree in elementary education, and so I was a teacher for about 8 years before I got into this field. But when the pandemic hit, it was kind of an opportunity for me to really reassess what I wanted to do with my career, and I realized that education was something that hasn't really evolved in the last, decade and things. And so, I thought, do I want to continue to be in this education field, or could I possibly be on the other side that helps sort of drive innovation and change? And that's sort of what got me interested in tech. And then, one thing led to another, and I found product design. And as somebody who's also been a really creative person, I felt like there was parts of education and creativity in product design that made a lot of sense for me. So
that is great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So let's talk about where did you guys grow up? How did your past experiences shape your journey into this field? So Carlo, just tell me, are you from Hawaii?
Yeah.
What is your tie to Hawaii and all that?
Yeah, totally. So yeah, born and raised in Hilo till I was 8, and then my entire family moved to Oahu, and that's where my wife is from. That's where we're raising our kids. And I went away, like I said, I went away to the Bay Area and worked there and studied there for 5 to 6 years. But when you grow up in Hawaii, it always pulls you back. And so it's pulled me back to Hawaii. I'm based on Oahu. Kind of want to move back to Hawaii Island. But I'm in Hawaii forever. And I plan to stick here forever.
I hear you on that. Yes, I'm also a returning Hawaii resident. Yeah. So, Hana, where did you grow up, and how did you get here?
Yeah. So I was actually originally born in Japan,
cool.
But most of my childhood I grew up in LA, and then when I was in high school, I moved to Hawaii because of my dad's job. He was in the hospitality industry, and so there's a little bit of me that's LA, and then there's a little bit of me, my adulthood, that's very much Hawaii. And once I came here, it's really a no-brainer. Where am I going to go that's better? Yeah. So it's been great. Yeah.
That's great. Yes, Hawaii is home. Yeah, for sure.
Home.
I do this exercise with a lot of people. It's if you could describe yourself in 3 words, what would they be?
I would say the 3 first words that came to mind were silly, genuine, and family-oriented.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I think I have a pretty silly personality, but I do take things very seriously. I think when it comes to being genuine, this is when I think about people trying to break into tech and people who are hiring in tech, or any industry for that matter. When I look for people to hire, I don't look for skills. I look for how genuine they are and how faithful they are to the team. And then family-oriented, it's probably because I just had a daughter and we're about to have a second one.
Congratulations!
Yeah. And so, the family union
yes.
is very strong. And I think about community a lot. And so when I think about my own family, I think about the community of Hawaii and how it really is your family in a sense. And so it kind of extends metaphorically past like your immediate family unit.
That's lovely. Yes.
And we're naming that baby PE.
I don't think so.
What are you naming
Baby
it?
Piʻikū. I do not think that's happening.
Yes. No, how about you, Hana?
I think first one might be passionate. If I really care about something, it means everything to me, and so I'll put my all into it. I think maybe caring. I'm a teacher at heart, and so I really just care about helping other people and making sure that they're, you know, the best version of themselves. And yeah, I think I'm fun.
Would you agree, Carlo?
Yeah, you know, I
agree
can
with
be
all
a
those
little fun.
Carlo, I know you're the founder. What made you think about doing Piʻikū? Yeah.
So during the pandemic, I was working for Shopify, and I got laid off from Shopify. And honestly, it was a blessing. I had 4 months of severance, which meant that I have 4 months of runway to really do a passion project, which was Piʻikū, which I always felt super strongly about. And I was always really confused as to why I saw so many people on the continent when I was living there breaking into tech. It was like a great field, it's a lucrative field. It allows people from Hawaii to work remotely and make a living here. And so I said, why not Hawaii? And so that was the birth of it. Like, I had 4 months to follow a passion and a dream. It used to be called Circular Design Internship. That's what it started out as under me. And then after the second cohort, Hana came on, May came on, Kim came on, our core members, and it turned into something more than me. And so the reason partially we rebranded to Piʻikū is that it was a whole new team. It was no longer mine, right? It was something that I shared with other individuals. That was the birth of it, and that's how it evolved.
Yeah, I remember, you know, tech layoffs were huge, you know, right after, like several years after the pandemic, and we're still, you know, feeling the effects of that, of those layoffs. So I'm glad that you like had a passion project and you really went through it. Like I think like Piʻikū is doing great work. So Hana, you're an alum, correct?
Yeah.
So tell us the story about like how you found yourself at Piʻikū, like, where it was like the circular design internship.
Right. So I'm a boot camp grad, so that's what I did, and it was a national, you know, anybody can do it online kind of thing, and there was maybe 1 or 2 of us that were from Hawaii, and everybody else was on the mainland, and so it was very lonely, you know. Everybody was getting jobs because they found hybrid jobs, or they just had better opportunities out there, and so I was at a point where I wasn't sure if it was going to be feasible for me to stay here and do that job, even though there were so many remote opportunities. And then I came across CDI at that point, and I actually went to the first Ho'ike, and I met Carlo, and I was like, hey Carlo, add me to your next class. And but yeah, that was really the start of it, and he was really welcoming. All the C1 alumni were really, you know, welcoming and told me to apply and all of those things, and so I was part of the second cohort, and I think there was just something to say about the community that CDI had. Everybody was super passionate about helping each other and just getting everybody to be successful, and that was something that was really missing in my previous opportunity, and so it meant a lot to me to be able to find these people, and you know, I just felt like that was something that I wanted to share with other people and provide other people that sense of belonging, and that's kind of what kept me around, and I wanted to be a part of something because I think that this is going somewhere.
Yes. Why is it so hard for Hawaii residents and locals to break into tech?
Yeah, cool, great. So there's 2 levels to this. First of all, it's hard for anyone to break into tech, regardless of where you're positioned geographically, time zone, whatever. And that comes for two reasons. One, for people who are breaking into tech, some people are coming from boot camps, some are self-taught, some are coming from conventional pathways. But to get into tech, you need to signal to employers that you are hireable, One way to do that is that you go get your you go to Carnegie Mellon and you get your master's and you signal to people that you are hireable. That's not really feasible for a lot of people. So when people are doing self-taught boot camp, you need to signal in another way. And what we're finding is that you essentially need a job to get a job. So people who are coming out of self-taught or boot camps, they're kind of left, on the side. And even people who are coming from conventional pathways are finding that you need a job to get a job, right? Which is like a great paradox chicken egg situation.
It's definitely a chicken egg situation.
It's a chicken egg situation. That was like the epiphany in the very beginning, is that like breaking into tech, into the specific industry, and I'm sure it's true for other ones. Huge chicken egg. Second part of it is that during the pandemic, we saw all of these different layoffs. So now the market is like incredibly saturated at the moment. So there's a lot of people who still want to break into tech, but there are fewer roles. I think that's going to change, but that's the current climate that we're in. And then when you're in from Hawaii, that's like doubled over, right?
Yeah.
So now that you don't, when I was on the continent, you're walking down the street, you go to a park, you go to a bar, whatever. When you're meeting people work at Uber, people work at Lyft. When you're in Hawaii,
side hustle, right?
You meet these people who are all in the tech world. In Hawaii, like, we just don't have that same level of network opportunity that you do on the continent. And so we need to work a little bit harder at doing that. And the last layer, and I think this is a myth, is that there isn't tech in Hawaii. And we're here to say that there is tech. So there's a lot of people who are trying to break into tech. And on the company side, there are companies doing tech here, but a lot of them believe that there isn't tech talent, and so they're outsourcing, looking offshore for other opportunities. So that is kind of like the two-layer, challenges that people see in Hawaii when they're trying to break into tech. Long answer, but that's kind of the synopsis.
No, I hear you. So you need to get a job to get it to get land a job, right? And I think that, like, growing up, born and raised in Hawaii, we lack that social capital of like knowing someone in tech.
Totally.
Right? As opposed to like, the people around us, our community, they're not in the industry. Yep. So how would we know what jobs are available?
I think for us, community is a really huge part of Piʻikū. And we believe that when you put the energy into something, right, then that comes back tenfold. And so we ourselves try to have partnerships with other local community organizations, and that leads to more opportunities. And so I think that we want to create those same opportunities for our alumni, but also anybody who's trying to get into tech here in Hawaii. I think that networking is one of our most powerful tools, especially here in Hawaii, right? Like, aloha is so important. And so we want to have our people here, local people, share how to network with other people in our community, but also outside, right?
What are things in Hawaii that people can tap into?
Totally.
Yeah.
So I think one of our things that we believe at Piʻikū, we started out with design, but we're trying to break out into a bunch of different roles. If you took a Myers-Briggs test, and you, when you think about tech, you think of engineering, right? But if you took a Myers-Briggs test, you could find a place for yourself in any sort of role within tech. So if you want to be an engineer, if you want to be a designer, if you want to be a product owner, if you wanted to be in sales and development or customer success, these are all tech adjacent roles that can fill the type of like personality or skills that you have. And so we've partnered with Blue Startups. Part of us communicating that tech is here is us changing the narrative by partner. So we do work-based learning programs, and when we do work-based learning programs, we do it with local organizations that are trying to change that narrative. So that for the past 2 cohorts, we've done with Blue Startups. Our interns have actually worked with, it's a top 20 accelerator in all the US, and our interns have been providing real design solutions for these organizations. And so our roadmap is to continue working with any of these organizations. And so we have some cool stuff in the works, but you could imagine when people think of like Altris as an example, it's an HR sourcing company. they have their own tech, right, that they stand up. They have their own sales team that they stand up to understand how their engineering works. So it's really just getting creative about the companies that are here, because they are here.
They are here. Yeah, that's great to know that there is a tech industry here. And I think a lot of people just don't know that.
And it's like reorienting your mind to like
Yeah.
what tech is, right? Like
Yeah.
every company is like has some sort of tech-oriented business within them.
Yes.
So it's really about reorienting your mind towards what is tech, because like when people think of tech, they think of Facebook and they think of Uber and they think of Lyft, whatever.
Or like big, huge
Yeah.
corporations, and
No.
they also think about coding and software engineering, but that's only one part of it, you're saying.
As an example, I was listening to a podcast, the Hawaii Community Foundation, they're creating a website so that the next time that there's, or in general for disaster response, they want to build a hub in order to disseminate information. They want to create like an alert system so that people can know what's going on immediately. Like that is tech right there.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's pretty powerful tech. But people wouldn't associate tech with that. Got
it. Okay, so that's exciting that that there is that opportunity here in Hawaii. What is Piʻikū doing today to help people pivot into tech, and also like what are some of the programs that you're doing? And
so we started off with an 8-week internship. And so we have our emerging designers who are then paired with seasoned mentors. And these are mentors that have over 10 years of experience in companies like Amazon, Google, and things like that, who maybe have ties to Hawaii or want to give back to their home. And so we pair them together. And then we have our partnership with Blue Startups, where these the teams of 2 interns and a mentor are then working on a real world project for these founders, who some of them are also local as well, which is a really cool sort of dynamic that we have. And they get to work on a real project, they get to add it to their portfolio, and then they have real world experience that they can talk about when they actually get to go and do interviews. So that's our pilot program basically, and we've now run 3 cohorts.
Congratulations!
Which is crazy.
Yes.
But yeah, and that served 42 alumni now. We have 11 mentors and 21 clients that we've designed for. And so, those numbers might be small to hear, but to us, those are really big numbers, and we want to continue to grow that. And so we're hoping to run 2 internships next year, right? The cross-functional and another 4th cohort of our original internship. We also identified that, people who graduate boot camps, people who graduate the internship, we recognize that there's still in that issue in the middle, right? From having that experience to then actually getting that real job. And so we figured, if we can't get them the job, then why don't we give them a job? And so that's where our studio agency model kind of came about, where we could then win contracts and then put our alumni onto those projects. And continue to give them experience and practice while they go through their job search process. And hopefully they can say they have a year of experience working at our agency.
So really, like, you not only mentor folks in UX UI design, but you also do you train them as well in like the principles of UX UI design? Do they need to have any experience entering into the program?
Yeah, so typically people who enter the program need to have some baseline understanding of design, and we go through an interview process for that. But we don't just accept people from conventional pathways. I mean, we do, but we also take people from unconventional pathways, people who went through boot camps, people who were self-taught, and our diversity numbers are really great. 94% people of color, 25% Native Hawaiian, 75% female non-binary. And when you look at the face of tech, that's typically 25% female non-binary. It's 0.001% right, indigenous. But we'd still like to increase our diversity numbers even more. And so something at Piʻikū we've thought about a lot is that, mentorship and these skills-based organizations, they're very time intensive and they're very cost intensive, right? And so when time and cost becomes a gatekeeper to knowledge and mentorship, it's something that we're trying to solve for. So Hana just told you about wanting to, we have work-based learning programs, so we're like solving the 0-1. We have our studio, which continues to get them experience. We would also love to, down the line, have our own boot camp on the front end, a subsidized boot camp, so that we can make sure that the individuals who really need to break into tech but don't have the means to in terms of time and cost, that we make sure that we can address those people as well. So that would be the full pipeline: boot camp, work-based learning program, studio.
And studio is they get paid for working on those projects that you contract out. So basically it's the full cycle.
Full cycle.
Yeah.
And then once they gain that experience working on Piʻikū projects, they build a portfolio that they can show that, hey, I did this in a real world scenario, and then they land their first job.
Yeah. And they're getting paid while they do it, because we've seen a lot of institutions that are doing this, but it's unpaid work, which one, we don't believe in, and two, I won't name the name, but there's an organization that for 6 months they will give you work, but you need to pay in order to do work for them. Like, that's how badly people want to build their portfolio. So we're flipping the model and saying, we're going to give you work experience and we're going to pay you, which seems like the right thing to do.
Yeah. I mean, like, that would be a great deal. Like, and people are really, when they do these type of work, are they very, do they learn a lot with that applied learning, right? And do your clients that for the projects that your cohort does and works on, are they happy with the work, or is it up to par in terms of industry standards?
Yes. And the reason it is, it's the same model as our work-based learning program, it is for the studio. Any sort of junior tech professional, them alone is probably a net negative. And so we game the system. And the reason we game the system in a positive way for everybody is that's the reason why we have senior level people, in the program. So for our work-based learning program, when they get someone from Coinbase or Shopify or Amazon with average over 10 years of experience, if you were to contract that person out, it'd be like $200 to $300 an hour, and they're getting them for free. Same thing for our studio. I mean, even though our lead designers and engineers and other professionals are getting paid, they're leading the project, and the juniors are doing most of the execution. So that's the way that we're able to get the price down, but the same level of senior level
same
polish.
level of quality and of work.
Yeah.
That's such a great concept. And you really address the problem from all different sides, because not only the companies feel good, right? They feel good that they're actually helping someone learn and get better, right? And also the whole thing that you're serving people that are not predominantly in tech, right? So, I mean, we all know that tech has a diversity problem.
Yeah. Totally. And the reason that I think it works, it all comes back to community, right? Like, for a senior level person to give their time, whether it's paid or whether it's for free, like for what we're asking for, the only reason they're coming back to Piʻikū is because they want to be part of our community, right? If it was purely transactional, if we had a purely extractive model, and this is like a profit-making extractive model, this wouldn't work. We're coming at it from like a very regenerative, community-based lens, and that's why we can get our senior level people of that quality to work with us. So
that's amazing.
I think
that's great. Like, that's a different way of looking.
It's a Hawaii way of looking at
things. It's a Hawaii way of looking at it. So let's talk about that. How is it so Hawaii?
Yeah.
How is like the sense of place, like
there's definitely something very special and unique about Hawaii, and I think that is connection, and I think that is relationship, and the way that we go about with each other is from a how can I help you way rather than how can you help me. And I think that tech can be very brutal in that way, and so it's the way that Hawaii goes about it is just in a way that uplifts the whole community. And that's how we see our partners and our partners see us. And so when we partner with our Blue startups, right? Like we're able to provide work. We even had a client who was like, well, there was this free opportunity for us to get some design work. So we thought, why not? And we signed up. And if we can help you guys, then that's cool. If we get something out of it, that's cool too. And then at the end of our ho'ike, he was like, this is like good work. Like I wasn't expecting to see this level of work from interns, and we were blown away we were blown away by the dedication and just the perseverance of the interns, and we're actually really proud of them. And the product that they worked on was not easy. It was a AR, augmented reality, platform, and that's something that's brand new. But our interns were able to give back to something that the clients were really proud of. And so I think that we're setting the stage now, showing Hawaii that we have, or not just Hawaii, I guess, the entire continent, that we have interns, we have designers who do great work, and that if you start to see, and Carlo mentioned, right, that a lot of these companies outsource, but if they start to see our interns and sorry, I keep calling them interns, but they're really designers,
They're
right?
designers, yes.
Yeah, these designers producing this quality work, then hopefully eventually they'll say, hey, maybe I'll hire an alumni from Piʻikū instead. And then those interns would then turn into mentors, and they'll give back to our future interns, and then continue to then maybe these mentors will start a company, and then they'll hire our alumni. And so we're really hoping to grow that just in all areas of tech that's here in Hawaii. And this is really just the start of it.
Definitely is the start of it, but like doing a great job, because it's something really much needed in Hawaii to diversify our economy and bring people back home.
So Piʻikū is so many things, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to, one, build the tech talent pipeline so that we can make sure that the people who are from Hawaii are connected to Hawaii. Even people who are on the continent and have ties to Hawaii but want to move back, all of these people, that they make sure that they can move back to Hawaii, they can live in Hawaii, and not only live in Hawaii, but we've heard about thrive in Hawaii. I also heard someone like double clicked into thrive for me, and it was like making sure that the people, when they live in Hawaii, that they have the agency to do what they want in Hawaii, they have the dignity and the security to live that sort of life. And then secondly, we also want to make sure at Piʻikū that when we build a thriving tech sector, which is what we want to do in the long term, we want to make sure that that thriving tech sector doesn't look like the Salesforce Tower, right? We want to make sure that the thriving tech sector is solving our biggest problems, and it's also grounded in our own local values. And so that's kind of like the mission vision statement. So the way we execute against that vision is through 3 ways. So 3 programs. One is our boot camp. Maybe we should develop a better name for it, just because that comes from really like Western capitalistic sort of sense, honestly. Like I don't know what we call it, but some sort of educational pathway, unconventional pathway.
Like training, classroom, or like even,
And the way that we look about it is that tech is a trade. Like this isn't something you need a 4-year degree for. This is something that can range from 2 weeks, which I think you could do sales and customer success in, to like 12 or 16 weeks for design or engineering, but some sort of training on the front end to make sure that we get the diversity that we want. And then secondly, we put them into our work-based learning program, 8 to 12 weeks of them actually working with real companies here in Hawaii, and also remotely, if there's good fit, and there are companies that actually align with our values. And then on the tail end, having our studio, so making sure that the people who go through our program have the continued work-based experience that they need. And I guess a fourth actually that underlines all of it, which is actually very special towards why we're doing this networking panel, is it's all about community. Going through breaking into tech is really, really hard. You get a lot of rejections. It can be very lonely. So that's why we double click into community and making sure that you're not on this journey alone. Like you have the whole Piʻikū community and also other community members, right? So we have deep ties with like Purple Mita, Thrive High, UXHI, all these other tech adjacent programs, and we're all kind of trying to solve the problem together rather than separately. So yeah, that's Piʻikū.
That's Piʻikū. And that is very Hawaii.
Super Hawaii.
Like we're all trying to solve the problem and we're all working together. And the community driven model. Yeah, that is so Hawaii.
Totally. Like AEP, so they do hiring for tech and other industries here, but I was talking to their founder, Zach, he's awesome. And honestly, we're tackling the issue from two different places, but at the same time, like in a way, someone could see us as competitors. But for us, we're just like, yeah, we're both doing really good work. We see how we fit together. And like, that's how all the organizations we work with in Hawaii is like, on the continent, I think people would see this as like somewhat competitor space. But for us, like, we see it as how can we work together? So it's totally Hawaii. And I'm not just saying that to say that, like it totally works that way.
Yeah, honestly, like it's so cutthroat on the mainland where everyone's a competitor.
Yeah.
But in Hawaii, it's like, oh, well, I think we can work together, right?
Yeah, we're going to amplify.
We're going to amplify each other in all of that. Yeah. That is definitely something that is very unique to Hawaii. And your model, the community-driven. I would say, honestly, Piʻikū is the whole ecosystem, right? You're tackling it from different aspects and different ways.
Yeah. Also, Piʻikū means transpiration.
Oh yeah, tell me about the name. What is the name of Piʻikū? Like, what is that from, Piʻikū?
I'm gonna let you handle this one.
Yeah.
So Piʻikū in Hawaiian is transpiration. So basically when a plant, right, gets water and it nourishes its leaves, and the water then evaporates and gets absorbed into the atmosphere. And so that sort of model visually, I think, really signifies what we do. Our mentors and our community members take their ike and give it to our interns, and then we hope that those interns then take it out into the world and then find a way to come back and give back to our community. And so just this regenerative model, we're hoping to have a sustainable or self-sustaining ecosystem, like you said.
Yeah,
really.
Like you said, like
circular.
circular. It's a circular ecosystem.
Yeah.
Hana, tell us about this upcoming Networking 101 panel discussion.
Sure. So I guess something that we were thinking about as we ran cohort 1 and 2, right, is that once that 8 weeks ends, you know, there's so much hype and there's so much going on, and then it finishes, and then all our interns are like, okay, well, what now? I have to actually go and get a job now. And so there was a missing piece there. And so we decided to start this speaker series where, again, we're taking our people that are locally here and have more knowledge and experience to then share that information with our alumni and, you know, whoever is in our community. And so we've curated a list of speakers who are here to talk about all kinds of things, whether that be writing a resume or a cover letter, or how to write a case study, or what it's like to just have imposter syndrome, because, you know, we all feel that. And so this particular speaker series that we have, the Networking 101, is a panel of all different perspectives in the tech community. So that could be a freelancer, an agency owner, one of our full-timers who is an alumni and she's now a full-time designer, and just somebody who is a product designer in corporate. And they're just going to be talking about how to utilize networking and how to, you know, speak about themselves and how to get those contracts or get those jobs and through interviews. And so I think that it would be a really great opportunity for anybody who's just trying to break into tech to watch or join our virtual panel that's coming up.
So if people aren't into tech,
Sure.
But you know, at ʻŌlelo, we also do workforce development, but it's for video producers and content creators. Could they join this panel discussion? Would that be relevant to them? Because I feel like networking is a very good skill to have, right? Regardless of your expertise. Is that something that people can attend?
Yeah, I would say so. I think we're open to anybody who's here in Hawaii that wants to sort of see what that's like and what it's going to look like. And like I said, there's different perspectives. And so maybe you want to continue to do freelancing and you want to learn how to sell yourself. Or if you're thinking about going into corporate, how do I then take my experience and talk about it in the way that is appealing to corporate hiring managers and things like that. And so I think that there's something to learn for anybody, whether that be design or whether that be video production. So we'll have our networking panel. It's going to be on October 23rd. It's going to be a free virtual event. So make sure you guys join Piʻikū and ʻŌlelo there.